against coronavirus. Coronavirus, this pandemic, which has covered the whole globe, is bringing about many impacts, starting from health, transportation, tourism, and etc. In this process, our country actually differentiated itself, which has been appreciated from the global sense. From the diagnosis and the treatment of the patients, we are in a good situation. In terms of the number of healthcare professionals, medical equipments, intensive care units, and the hospital beds, we don't lack anything. And in terms of supplying individual health care equipments to our citizens, we don't have any problems at all. The distribution of the masks free of charge is going on through different channels. In a country like Turkey with a population of 83 million people, it is not easy to provide such services. I am sure that from time to time there are certain disruptions. But once again, I'd like to reiterate that this disruption is not stemming from the lack of resources. Distributing of such equipments can be delayed even for certain products. In many of the countries, even the equipments like the face masks have difficulties in terms of distribution to the healthcare professionals even. So we can be really proud of ourselves in terms of the distribution of our masks free of charge. The distribution of our masks free of charge to our citizens is an ongoing process. Up until now, 32 million of our citizens have received their verification code through SMS for receival of their masks. Hopefully, this number will increase to 38 million by Thursday. All public entities from the Ministry of Health to the Ministry of Defense will boost their manufacturing process of the masks. Certain medications which are used for the treatment of the disease will be manufactured in our country, and both in terms of their manufacturing inside of the Turkey and their actually supply from abroad. Our healthcare institutes, in terms of their bed capacity and intensive care unit capacity, is enough to combat against this disease. In many of our provinces, we have a total number of 240,000 bed capacity. Out of 100,000 of them has single person capacity. In the Europe, the number of the intensive care unit beds per million is below 12, but this number is almost close to 50 in Turkey. This figure even doesn't reach to 30 in Germany, which is one of the most advanced countries in the Europe. As you know, within 40 days of a time frame, we will establish and construct 2 hospitals with 1,000 bed capacity in Yeşilköy region. Again, in the province of Hadımköy, and with the 100 bed capacity and with a 250 bed capacity in Derince, we will construct new hospitals. Başakşehir city hospitals and with the bed capacity of 2,862 beds will be opened in the upcoming days. Only the intensive care unit bed capacity of this hospital is 456, and Pendik Research and Training Hospital has already started accepting its patients with the bed capacity of 536. In terms of the containment of the pandemic, we have progressed even further. In terms of the number of the tests applied per day, Turkey ranks in the prominent countries in the global scales. In terms of the number of the tests that we have carried out on a daily basis, we have reached beyond 34,456. Thanks to God, the number of the positive cases per tests are in decline. And in terms of the number of the recovered patients, we are in the prominent countries. and the number of the recovered and discharged patients have reached beyond 5,000. So Turkey is among the countries who contained the pandemic quite successfully so far. Starting with the WHO and many international institutions showed Turkey as an example in the fight against coronavirus. We are not only serving to the needs of our own citizens, but as long as our resources allow us, we try to give services to the needs of the other countries. If you can feel pain, then you are actually live. But if you can feel the pain of the others, then you are a human being. This is the motto in our mentality. Up until now, we have dispatched medical aid to more than 34 countries, and such medical aid deliveries will be going on in the upcoming days. In terms of the medical equipment, I would like to thank our friendly countries who provided support to Turkey. My dear citizens, this threat requires us to actually manage this process dynamically. Within the evaluations of our scientific advisory board, the precautions are being updated on a continuous basis. In the weekend, we have taken a precaution with a weekend curfew, which was valid for 31 provinces. As the curfew was announced after the announcement of the curfew, within a couple of hours, there was a huge chaos. In order not this chaos to be repeated, we will take the necessary precautions. I know that given the fact that the temperatures are rising in Istanbul, the outdoor environment might be quite appealing, so our citizens can take a stroll in the streets and the parks, so we will try to avoid this. Such kind of negative incidents actually should be prevented. The Minister of Interior, on that regard, took the responsibility for such a chaos, so I appreciate that. But I didn't accept his resignation, and I wanted from him to continue with his duties. In terms of the fight against the terrorism and his successful services for the response to the natural disasters, and in terms of establishing the public order, my Minister of Interior was quite successful, so he will continue with his duties in the upcoming days. Once again, I would like to thank Mr. Bahçeli as the site of the public alliance. I would like to thank him on behalf of myself and my party. So the weekend curfew, I would like to state that, will be in effect as long as there is a need. As of 17th of April, starting from the nighttime until the 19th of April till midnight, the weekend curfew will be in effect. Well, unfortunately, certain media members actually declared a war due to such curfew implementation. Rather than contributing to our fight against coronavirus, unfortunately, certain media members are vomiting their hatred against us, which is more dangerous than the coronavirus. I believe there are few countries who have acted as transparently as Turkey. Questions like whether the decisions are taken in inefficient scientific advisory boards do not reflect the reality but create a chaos and division. With their twisted perception and with their twisted publications, such kind of media members are trying to decrease the morale of our people, but such kind of attitudes are not even tolerated in many other countries. Well, the abuse of democracy and the ideological twisted perception is abused by many parties. This is the problem that we have. The people who are working day and night in order to deteriorate the morale of our public will eventually drown in their pitfalls of hatred. Once upon a time, those people who believe that they are the sole owner of this country, I would like to say to them that please leave our nation alone, because you were the responsible of every chaos and every disruption. You were actually the triggering force of any insult targeted against the sacredness of our nation. What you do is not being a journalist, but you do is actually distributing the dystopic news to our people. Hopefully, this virus of such media members will not be existed anymore. The president of CHP, the main opposition party, has shown that he is unaware of the municipalities and of his own country. Being able to say many lies consequently actually shows that mythomania, such kind of a disease, is present in him. There is a scientific advisory board which was established by the auspices of Ministry of Health. I believe they will give the necessary answer to such lies. My dear citizens, once again I'd like to reiterate that the Republic of Turkey, whatever the conditions are, is responsible for providing the safety and security of its own citizens, and the Republic of Turkey is strong enough to fulfill the hygiene and the food supply needs of our nation. In order to support our retired person, in order to support the tradesmen, entrepreneurs, we are taking every necessary steps and precautions. As you can see, Vefa social solidarity groups, after the announcement of the curfew on Friday, wandered streets by streets. Our bakeries, with its delivery cargoes, wandered in streets. As you know, such kind of works can be carried out only by the ones who know how to do it. Approximately 350,000 cargo vehicles provided such basic needs to our nations, and more than 4.5 million of our citizens have been supported with cash. And for the upcoming 3 months, we will take every necessary steps in order to prevent the sacking of our laborers from their position. Short-term cash support has been put into practice, and 700,000 of them, of such applications, have been finalized. And for the ones who actually lost his income due to unpaid leave, we will support them with 1,170 Turkish liras. And up until now, 164,000 out of 290,000 of financial help applications have been finalized. And the commercial loans with the capacity of 25,000 Turkish liras per tradesman have been distributed with the total amount of 1.6 million Turkish liras. For the applications which will provide the commercial loan with the credit guarantee fund, approximately 30 billion Turkish liras have been allocated to such applications. For the individual support package, the applications went beyond 1.4 million. and the distribution of such loans have been initiated as of last Friday. The state banks have delayed the payment of the debts with the amount of 21 billion Turkish liras, and many of the credit card debts, the mortgage debts of our citizens have been delayed by the state bank. Halkbank has already delayed without imposing any interest fees to our citizens with a total amount of 3.5 billion Turkish liras, which covers 365,000 applications. And in order to support our farmers, we are making use of any resources at our discretion, especially in order to win the arable lands. Our related institutions and entities have started working day and night. In order to prevent Turkey to be affected by this lack or limitation for the supply of the nutritional resources, we are taking necessary steps. As the public side, we do our best, but unfortunately the private banks are not showing the same level of performance that the state banks do. In such troubled times, we are expecting private banks to fulfill their duties as well. Thanks to God, we have the necessary economic infrastructure to overcome those troubled times. We will never kneel down in front of any economic aid programs, including IMF. No power can put Turkey under such harsh conditions. With the steps to be taken, we will distribute the burden in an equal and just manner, and we will leave no one behind. During the independence war, as our nation embraced the national orders issued by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, they have sacrificed for the salvation of their country. And as of today, our nation is also embracing such kind of sacrifices, and they are embracing the solidarity campaign that has been issued by us. This is a campaign which is on the basis of volunteerism, and up until now we have collected more than 1,612,000,000 Turkish liras as a donation. Once again, I'd like to thank anyone who contributed to this solidarity campaign. Dear citizens, our nation has the feeling and understanding of being a civilization with justice, solidarity, and cooperation. In our culture, we work for the service of our nation. It is a sacred duty for us. As of today, we are fighting against the virus with the participation of our 83 million citizens. I have no doubt that we will overcome this pandemic. I wish and I pray for God that we will overcome this troubled times in the soonest times possible. We will be patient a little bit more, and then we will reach the well-being. Today is the day of being brothers and being in solidarity. Today is the day that we embrace to our patience and not giving up from our honored stance. We will forget about our pains and we will keep our hopes fresh. And in order to convert our patience to triumph, we will do whatever it takes. Once again, I'd like to say to all of you, please stay at home. And as we say to all of you, and as we request from all of you to stay at home, we know what kind of difficulties you are encountering. I can easily see the teardrops in the eye pupils of our young people as they cannot go to the parks. Our students are missing and dreaming for the time to play with their peers on the gardens of their schools, so their pains are our pains as well. Our citizens who are not able to pray for God in the mosques, our citizens who cannot speak with their friends in the coffee houses, their troubles are our troubles as well. So the people who cannot attend to the funeral ceremonies or who cannot visit their friends who just delivered a baby, their pains, their sorrows are our sorrows as well. Our citizens who cannot, our retired elderlies who cannot spend and enjoy their times in the parks, their dissatisfactions are our dissatisfactions as well. Our youngs who cannot meet with their friends in the gyms and in the parks, we know their difficulties as well. The difficulty and the troubles of each one of our citizens are our citizens as well. As our ancestors said, the black and troubled times will not persist forever. Such troubled times are not the troubled times for our nation only, but it is the troubled times for all the world. Once again, we are realizing how thankful we should be God for being able to live in such simple conditions. Hopefully, after those times are over, we will live our lives more beneficially. Once again, I would like to extend my condolences to the beloved ones of our passed away citizens, and I pray for God for forgiveness for our citizens and for our patients. I pray for God for their healings. Starting with our healthcare professionals, I would like to thank all of our citizens who facilitated our lives in the field of healthcare services, transportation, and the deliveries of foods. I would like to thank each one of them on behalf of myself, on behalf of my family, and on behalf of my nation. I also would like to thank the workers and farmers who work day and night in their positions. I would like to thank them for providing the sustainability of the production. I pray for God, and once again, I would like to extend my gratitude to each one of you. I wish all of you to stay in good shape and health.
TRT Haber ekranlarından bir kez daha merhaba sevgili seyirciler. Cumhurbaşkanı Recep Tayyip Erdoğan 27. kabine toplantısı sonrasında açıklamalarda bulundu. O açıklamalarda ekranlarınıza geldi. Tabii ki kabine toplantısının bir numaralı gündem maddesi koronavirüsle mücadele kapsamında alınan